Hello, and thank you very much for having me at the TRIPPIN'BLUE show this year. My name is Jørgen Sevild. I'm from INQOVA Technologies. INQOVA is focusing specifically on working with fabric mills and garment manufacturers around the world on sales and marketing and also technology. We have been around for the last 10 years. I have previously been based in Hong Kong for almost 10 years, working specifically with textiles industry in the Asian market. We currently work with textiles manufacturing companies around the world, and our particular focus for the past few years has been on market intelligence. And that's what I'm here to talk a little bit more about today, in particular market intelligence for, in this case, I'm going to use the example of a fabric mill. We see that the world is, I think as all of us is knowing, the world is changing. This is just one of the examples. As many of you know, we see how much more synthetic fiber we have in our industry these days. There is a lot of other changes that we'll talk about, but we see that, let's say, the market is changing, even if it's just from a fiber point of view, and it's changing quite significantly. And as the world is changing, companies in the textiles industry will have to change with the world. We see that from an overview, and this is a bit of a simplified model, we see that the supply chain here kind of laid out from fiber, yarn to fabric, garment and retail. We know that we have difficulties essentially in our industry with overproduction and waste and many things that we can talk about. And in particular, as these things are challenging the industry, we're going to have to look for solutions and different ways that we can do better. One thing that we have identified over the last 10 years of having worked with fabric mills and garment factories is this kind of simplified here, as I'm showing you, what we call the traditional model. And this is very often how manufacturing companies get started. It tends to be one founder or a family or a small group of founders that are particularly good at production and sales. So it starts with a small production, and then you have a sales team or someone that's good at sales that goes out and sells to customers, and then the production then has to follow, and the business is kind of built step by step like this. So as the sales team is going out and getting more orders, then the production is then going to have to meet the demand for and fulfill those orders. We see also that product development and design, or research and development, is usually considered all the way from the beginning, but it tends to be a little bit of a kind of a back wheel in the beginning, and often over a long time for kind of traditional manufacturing businesses. But we see specifically, and what I wanted to highlight with this model here, is how the organization tends to be very sales driven, and the sales teams tends to have a lot of power, and the sales team tends to kind of drive the organization forward, whereas the core business of production will have to follow together with, of course, an integrated product development and design part. We see that as the world is changing, as we talked about earlier, this type of traditional business model is meeting more competitive, globalized world. We have different challenges coming in from different angles, from labor to wherever you're based in the world, to government and legislation that might apply to different companies and your customers. Energy, internet and digital technologies, skills and expertise, lots of different challenges in general. When the world is moving and you're busy running your company, it's very difficult to then keep an overview over what's happening out there in the world. And so it's very difficult to kind of read the map of the industry while you're busy and have your head in running the business. So while you're busy running the business, who's actually telling you how to navigate the business landscape and what you should be doing looking outwards? And that's in particular where market intelligence is coming into this, and what we'll talk a little bit more about today. So we're going to talk about going from this traditional model. Many companies they start in this model, they remain in this model for decades and for a very long time. It's very common for textiles manufacturing business to still, after many years of operations, operate in this model where it's very heavily sales driven, and you have this kind of balancing between orders and capacity, and the sales team in particular having to kind of always go out to fill capacity or chase new orders. So what we're transitioning to is essentially this, what we call the intelligent organization. I've already highlighted before that these are somewhat simplified, simplified illustrations for this. But what I would like to highlight here is that we've just divided sales and marketing into these two components. We still have production, product design and development, and research and development as these kind of cornerstones or key components of the business. But at the center of this intelligent organization sits this market intelligence and business intelligence. I'm going to come back to what the difference between those two are in a little bit. But this is really just to kind of highlight here the model of changing from this more traditional model into now changing to a model that's more driven by data and driven by these kind of intelligence units that we can then set kind of forth a direction and build strategy based on data and an understanding of what's happening in the market and within our own company. So what we see is happening more and more, and what manufacturing companies, in particular in the textiles industry, will have to think about is this transition from being a traditional manufacturing company where you purchase your yarns or your chemicals and you have your processes like dyeing or weaving or knitting or your fabric finishing and so forth, and you outputting your fabrics at the end of your manufacturing process. You hand over those fabrics and your business is kind of considered done. And that's a bit of, again, like this traditional model of just manufacturing. And what we see more and more businesses in the industry is winning and building a better differentiation and a better competitive edge with is essentially by doubling down on research and development, building intellectual property and building specific products that you can go to market with and you can register and then become products of the company. We talked a little bit about leveraging data and insights. And of course, what we'll talk about today is, we know that there is a lot of data out there. And what's very challenging in this world of large volumes of data is actually understanding what data is relevant to us and how do we convert that data into insights that is meaningful for our business. And that's, again, very much where market intelligence is coming into this. We see more and more automation happening. And I think in particular, as we're looking here at the kind of headline of transitioning from manufacturing and into this kind of solutions company, is this service and expertise. We see a lot of possibility or an opportunity for manufacturing companies to now offer more services, like whether it's design services, whether it's technology, whether it's more expertise in terms of how to support designers and developers on the retail side with technical expertise and how certain things should be done in these things. And that's really what we mean essentially by a solutions company, is focusing more on the customer and what the customer's needs are, and how do we actually solve some of the problems and offer solutions to our customers a little bit more holistically around our customers' business, more than just thinking of ourselves as we're making some products and we're just gonna go about making our products and we deliver our output and that's what we do. So that's also a bigger transition that we see in the market. There's a big part of this, and we mentioned earlier about how in the traditional model we go from having sales very much driving the organization, and then we've talked a little bit about also how in this new model we're dividing sales and marketing. And this is a bit about, of course, we're not going to get rid of sales as very important, but it's more just a way that we look at sales in the industry. And the way we look at sales tend to be very broad and very generic. We very often see sales and marketing be included in the same titles with very little differentiation of what sales and marketing really means or what the work actually entails. So what we're going to talk a little bit about here is what do we do with sales and how do we get a little bit more specific about it and why is this important to market intelligence? So we're going to be rethinking the business structure, and we're zooming out a little bit here also from a higher level. So this is just kind of providing a high level overview, but what we're going to be focusing on is all the way on the left hand side here today is revenue. And this is where, again, we're going to kind of get rid of just sales, and we're going to think of this essentially as revenue. It's the part of the company that generates income, and as you can see here, growing new revenue, increasing retained revenue, and reducing the cost of sales. And we'll talk more about that specifically. And if we divide the company into three key units, we're not just looking at production as in a classic manufacturing sense. We're looking at it as more of a solution, and how do we offer solutions to our customers and provide our customers with value. And we put that into kind of the center box here. And what we traditionally look at as admin, we can now rather look at as risk. These are things we're not going to cover into go into detail on today. We're going to particularly focus on revenue today. So if we break this up a little bit further, and this is where I'd really like to kind of get rid of the sales word. again, we keep sales in here. It's very, very important. But what I would like to emphasize in this, and what I would like to also bring out the importance of why we need to do this for market intelligence later on, is just pay attention to this middle part here, which is where we break revenue into these 3 teams, or we can call them units. And that is marketing, new business, and key accounts. And we'll talk a little bit more about those specifically. So what does these 3 revenue teams or 3 revenue units actually do? They're holistically responsible for the entire revenue generation process in the company. This is the department that brings in income and money into the business. And we divide that up into 3 distinct kind of units or teams here, with then 3 distinct different purposes or roles in how they contribute to generating revenue. I think for most people, these are, we've seen this before, but I'm aware over the last kind of, at least in my past 10 years of experience in the textiles industry, working in particular with sales and marketing, it's a bit rare to see companies divide up let's say sales into these 3 different units. And this is quite important also now for marketing is, traditionally what you think of marketing. Here, as you can see, we mentioned reducing the cost of sales. And that is essentially the role of marketing, is to build reputation and to build awareness and to make sure that the market knows who you are and what you're known for and what they can expect of you. And if marketing is doing a good job, then the sales process, when an actual sales team gets in touch with a customer, should be relatively easy. And that's what that reducing cost of sales is meaning, is that it's then costing you as a business less to do the actual sale, because marketing has invested in building a reputation and your customer knows more about who you are when they go into doing business with you. We see new business development, of course, then is growing new revenue, is focused on identifying and engaging new potential customers, whereas key account management is, of course, also here increasing revenue from customers that you already have. So marketing is more about building reputation and awareness in the market of your business. New business specifically going after new customers that you maybe haven't worked with before. And key account management is how do you service and do more together with your existing customers. Very briefly here, you can see the same color coding here. You can see yellow, green, and blue. And the same thing here, just to give an example of the customer journey, is we very often see, let's say in this case, a retail company and a designer being quite unaware of a problem. It could be, for example, that there's a problem with some of their an existing supplier, and they need to find a new fabric mill to work with. They become aware of that problem and the significance of that problem, what that means to them, and they will then start to look for solutions in the market. And that's where marketing is coming in here. That's where you want to have a website and maybe be present in certain marketing channels. And you would like to, maybe be in trade shows and have met with some of these people before and have a reputation, so that you can become one of the options that they will then consider. And all of these yellow ones here are considered kind of more like the marketing work of making sure that these customers knows about your business, maybe even before they're aware that they have an actual problem and that they need to potentially then work with you. The green boxes here are the new business development, and that's specifically then focused on, let's say, a new company, let's say a retail fashion brand, listing out the options of fabric mills they could consider working with, evaluating those solutions, then starting a sampling process, maybe with ordering some hangers, some sample yardage, and then eventually going ahead and going into maybe say a slight or small bulk order. And it's particularly important here in new business development that because the customer feels like they're really getting good service and good support in the process, so that they would like to come back later again and do more business. And that's where the blue boxes here come in. They come back again if they're happy, they place their big bulk, and then they place repeat bulk orders from there. So coming back to market intelligence, and here also business intelligence that we talked about before. And just to clarify here, the main difference between business intelligence and market intelligence is here that let's start with. Business intelligence is internally focused. It's your company's performance, your efficiency, your processes, your profitability. It's about you and let's say the health of your business and your operation. We're not going to focus on that today. We're going to particularly focus on market intelligence, which is kind of the other side of this, which is the externally focused kind of intelligence, which is looking at industry trends, your competitors, and insights about your competitors that would be important for you to know. product differentiation about what you can do and how you can position your products so that you're differentiated from your competitors, and generally a good understanding of how the marketplace is behaving around you. And that's really what market intelligence is about, is for you to then have an understanding of how the market is at a particular time, and how you fit into that market, and how you could then be more competitive in that market. So coming back to these three boxes we talked about earlier: marketing, new business development, and key accounts. And this part is particularly highlighting also why it's so important that you break down sales into these three different components. Because in order to do market intelligence correctly and effectively, you need to be able to offer market intelligence to each of these specific units or teams in a way that's meaningful to them. So if we try to just offer market intelligence purely to an entire sales teams that's mixed of marketing and new business development and account management, it might be difficult to understand a little bit also where market intelligence fits in. And that's in particular here, just to break down, we have 3 slides here. So I'll talk specifically to, what does market intelligence mean to, in this case, marketing. Here you can say these 3 components are, and this is what we do as a business, we have access to very large amounts of data, and we have access to a lot of analytics and our own analytics processes. And the way that we work together with companies, essentially either by offering this kind of market intelligence as a service to the companies that we work with, or also help companies to build this out internally. This depends, we're like also different type of flexible ways of working at this. And in particular for marketing, and like how do you build awareness and a reputation, you have to know something about your, I would say, market segments and the markets that you're serving. You have to understand their preferences and their pain points and their needs and, their buying behavior in particular. Like of course on a high level, you could say we have clear seasons, but you need to know, when does your customer buy and how do they like to buy and what channels do they like to buy through. And this in particular, one important thing that we work through. Your competitive positioning is, of course, how you are positioned in comparison to your other competitors and in the market as a whole, and looking at how the market is moving and what kind of, in particular, for example, with your competitors, how they are then positioning themselves with campaigns and messaging, and how you then need to be aware of that type of positioning so that you can also position yourself more strongly. We also see market trends. This is a little bit more broad in where the market is going, industry shifts and customer preferences. And let's say, for example, seeing that manufacturing is moving from one country to another are things that are also very important to know about early. If we look at new business development and market intelligence, what that means there is, let's say, prospecting, finding target markets. What are the most valuable markets for your business to go after? Where should you focus your efforts? And where will there be the highest demands for the type of, let's say, fabrics that you're offering? Making lists of prospects and all the businesses that could be your potential customers, and then prioritizing them based off of, what would be the best fit for you, and making sure that the sales process is as easy as possible and you don't have to knock on everyone's door. We here preferably want to know, as much as possible about the prospect, and so that we can then have a conversation and talk about things that are relevant to them and show them, for example, here again, of course, fabrics that are most relevant to them. We look at emerging market opportunities, analyzing the market conditions and identifying new segments that you could be reaching with your sales. And of course, again, also looking at your competitive landscape, specifically in the light of new business development and what companies are specifically dominating specific segments and what would you need to do to be able to win over more business. When we look at key account management, is of course here also particularly to grow business with existing customers. So account expansion opportunity is very important. Identifying areas where existing clients, you might be able to meet some of the needs that they haven't already fulfilled. You need to be very aware of how your competitors are going to maybe try to get some of your business, and we'll try to then offer a better pricing, better terms, something that the customer could value more, and therefore shift their business over to a competitor. And these are things that we can then offer intelligence on, so that you can be aware of these things before they happen. We can also look at client-specific market trends and see, for example, does this client need something that you could offer and your business could offer, but you're currently not offering, and you can then build out your offering and your solution in and around this. And of course, it's important from even a risk point of view to understand how your customers' business is doing. Are they doing well? Are they not doing so well? Are there things that you need to be aware of with your customers in general? And this is things that we can provide a lot of information on, in particular on each individual company. The three major benefits, I would say, of market intelligence are a stronger market presence, that you get noticed because you understand what your customers want and you really stand out from your competition. You can very easily also spot new growth opportunities. We can see exactly where your business fits in, where you could be filling gaps with your customers, and what you could be doing better to be able to grow your business. And of course, also how you can service your customers in a better way and building better relationship with your customers. And it's really, really important with this. And essentially all of this contributes to growth and revenue. And we've seen this consistently over many years already with the companies we work with. But before you can really go into this, and this is what I'm going to try to kind of leave this at today, and this is thing that I would encourage you, please go ahead and come to talk to me about this or ask me questions about this after. But before you can go into market intelligence, it's very important that you have a clear understanding of your current market position. You need to understand where you stand right now and what kind of position you are in the market. You need to know your market very well with your customers, your products, and your competitors, and you need to have a clear mapping of this before you go into market intelligence. We find it in a lot of cases when you go into this without having a very clear assessment of where you are in this moment, you might find it a bit difficult to get value from market intelligence. And this is something we've worked at, I would say, for over many, many years already. And we've recently, in the past few years, refined an assessment on how you actually establish your current state and where you are right now, and so that you can be set up in the best possible way for market intelligence. And so specifically for the TRIPPIN'BLUE event that's happening right now, we've been offering a standard Fabric Mills sales and marketing assessment. And this is normally priced at $599. This is something we do with every company that comes to us to work with us in order to understand where we are at the moment right now. And because we've been invited here, and it's really nice to be able to be here, together with you and to share some of this. We would also like to offer this assessment free of charge to the first 3 companies that reaches out to me as well. So please feel free to, after this, if you're interested in the assessment, there's no extra charges or no commitment that you have to do with this. We can do the assessment, you can get an evaluation, and then you can decide on what you would like to do with it from there. First 3 companies is more than welcome to have this free of charge. So that's really what I want to share today. I hope this has been a bit kind of insightful about market intelligence and how it applies to the textiles industry. If you would like to connect with me, ask me any questions and take me up on the offer here for the assessment, please feel free to send me an email or connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm available to answer any questions, and I'm happy to share in more detail. So thank you very much for having me, and please feel free to reach out if you have any questions, and enjoy the rest of the event. Thank you very much.